Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? Everybody's in the chat. Ryan, how are you, man? Welcome to the call. Welcome to today's event. Awesome. All right, let me go ahead and start this bad boy up. Give me 1 second. Where are we at? There you go. All right, everyone. Welcome here. Hold on, let me come over here. Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's event. My name is David Bettis. Give me 1 second, actually. Let me turn off this light because it seems like it's going to be a doozy. Here we go. All right. Welcome, everyone. My name is David Bettis, and I'm CEO of DAP Development or DAP Consulting. I have a bunch of companies. We're going to talk today. If you're watching this video, please share this video with anybody you can. This is a good event. I'm going to teach you and talk to you about the payroll protection program and how that really ties into a lot of other things, but how it really is forgiven. So if you don't know about that, I'm going to educate you today. As you can see, I have a whiteboard behind you. We're going to go through that, but first we're going to go through a presentation. I may not have my video on so much because I'm going to be talking, but I'll come back in just a few minutes. If you have any questions, put them in the chat. I'd love to answer as much as possible. If you already know what you want to learn, please put it in the chat right now, and that'll help me so I can make sure to answer this question. So let's go ahead and begin. All right, so the payroll protection program, very important program to small business owners. It is a direct product of what we call the CARES Act, and this is going to be a lot of information, but I hope we get through this pretty quickly. All right, so first and foremost, my name is David Bettis. I'm the CEO and founder of Freedom Financial Centers, Freedom Nation, which has a slew of companies, and these companies all are directly tied to the financial services industry. And what I do really is I help businesses figure out all the confusing things in business out, right? I do financial coaching, I do peak performance coaching. Really, I put all the pieces together for any business that's looking to succeed. And these are all the companies. My favorite companies, top left, Free Hunger Nation. It is our nonprofit which feeds families throughout the United States during the Thanksgiving holiday. It's probably one of my favorite projects that we've ever created and taken on, and I'm so excited. And of course, Liberty Tax, they are my tax brand, if you will, my partner. And that brand is what really puts together, really what has helped me launch a lot of these companies. So, all right, so the CARES Act, which is the Corona Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act, also known as the CARES Act, is a law meant to address the economic fallout of the 2020 coronavirus pandemic and the United States. Can y'all hear me well, by the way? If you can hear me well, please comment here. I just want to make sure you guys can hear me well enough. Hopefully you can hear me. All right, well, I continue. All right, so payroll protection program. So the PPP offers federal guaranteed loans to businesses with fewer than 500 employees to cover payroll and other essential costs. And we're going to break that down in just a minute, what those essential costs are in payroll. If you guys can hear me, please comment. I would love to make sure that everybody can hear me. You're on here, please. All right. So the cool thing about this particular PPP loan program is that it's 1% interest rate, it's 24-month term, 6 months, no payments. This is a huge deal because, you know, if you're looking for a loan at a low interest rate, the only catch, in my opinion, is that it's only 24 months. Since 6 of those are no payments, what that really means to me is that for 18 months, you've got to pay back a large sum of money, depending on how much you can borrow. So let's go through this. So how to apply for the PPP? Very simple. Determine your eligibility. There is a million websites. I'm going to put some in the description down below. Then you're going to contact your lender, and that's a very big challenge today because not every lender is going to do this program. It is done through a traditional lender, but you know, you're going to have an opportunity to talk to your lender, determine if they're eligible, or find a lender who's doing it. Submit your application, get funded, and then get forgiveness. Now we're going to talk about the forgiveness today, right? So there's a little bit more to this, the PPP Loan Forgiveness. And the most attractive aspect of the PPP is the forgiveness portion. So what that really means here is, I'm going to try to turn this on because I can go through this. What this really means is that since, you know, you're borrowing this money, the government has stated that if you use this money as is intended, which is payroll, you could have 100% of this money forgiven. 100% of it forgiven, which is a huge deal. And so if you've got employees right now, or you've had employees, you have to lay people off, the whole point is to get people to get working again. So what we're going to talk about right now is the most attractive part about this, which is the payroll forgiveness part. So I'm going to use my mouse, there you go. So how you calculate this loan is really by getting your monthly payroll and getting a formula of multiplying it times 2.5, and that determines how much you can borrow. So here's, I actually did it right here. So to determine this PPP loan amount, the way you do it is you get your annual payroll. For an example, this would be 300,000, and then you divide that by 12. So basically you go to, actually I should write it right here. So if you're in business right now, this will tell you, all you're going to do is get, your 941s or your 940, or you can add up all your W-2s, and then you divide it by 12, which comes to 300,000 for this example, divided by 12, which are months, then you get an average monthly payroll of 25,000. Then to determine the loan amount, max PPL, you multiply that times 2.5 and you get 62,500 in this particular case. Now I'll get to the other parts right now, but that's how you determine how much money you can borrow on the PPP. So the crazy thing about it is, can you really repay $62,000, or can you really use $62,000 in this particular case in a matter of 8 weeks? And we're going to talk about that. So hopefully we can get this together. All right. So I gave you an example here of a PPP application. What I've done is I filled it out so that you could actually see what happens. So basically you get your monthly payroll cost, average monthly cost multiplied times 2, and like in this particular case. And I assumed you have 17 employees. Now, in further slides, I'm going to tell you about it, but up here on the left, or my right, your left, I don't know how this works, you're going to see how there is, what I call full-time employees. Now, the government defines anybody as full-time if they work 30 hours or more in a week. That's a full-time employee. Now, if you have a bunch of part-timers, people who work 10 hours, 15 hours, 25 hours, 20 hours, what you do is you get all of their hours in a given month, all of them, and you divide it by 120, and that should give you a number. Whatever that number is how many full-time employees you have. So you would get how many are actually 30 plus hours. That's already 1 for every person. Then you get how many hours, you divide it by 120, and that should give you another number. You add those together, and that gives you total full-time employees. So in our case, for this example, we've got 17 full-time employees. So what you really need to know now, going forward, actually, let me stop here and we'll go through this and then we'll talk about some of these things. So once you determine how many full-time employees, and especially in this case, we're going to assume there's 17 for our example as we're using on the screen. What I've done is I've broken it down so we can go through this. Now, all right, I still see a lot of great people. All right. So what we want to do now is go through this together and make sure we have the right thing. So here, what we want to do first when you get funded, so it should take you, and by the way, you can't apply for this thing right now. It is temporarily suspended probably till either this afternoon or Monday. So if you already got the PPP loan, great. And if you're looking to get it, you need to go in today, or you need to get your loan application in today. So once you get your funding, what you need to do is know the rules. So there's an 8-week period that you need to use this money, 8 weeks. So that's why I said, can we really spend all of this money in 8 weeks? So here's what I've done. So if I've calculated that my annual payroll is 300,000, I've calculated my monthly payroll is 25,000. I've got my max PPL of 62,500. Don't get too confused. All I did is multiply times 2.5. Now I did some other math right here, but really this money right here, this 62,500, I have to spend in 8 weeks based on this rule, this loan forgiveness rule. So I have to spend all of that money within 8 weeks. The crazy part is this is giving me a calculation of 2.5 months, but I've got to spend it in 8 weeks. 2.5 months, 8 weeks. Do you think you can do that? Now, anybody would say, yes, I could blow it all. I could buy me a new Corvette. You could do we're going to talk about what you could spend it on, but it is going to be a challenge. We're going to talk about those challenges now. So you must spend 75% of that money on payroll. So 75% must be payroll related. And the other one, the remaining, needs to be on other expenses. So in this case, what I did to calculate how much I have to spend on payroll, I got $62,500 and I multiplied it times 75%. This is the number that I must spend in payroll in 8 weeks. That's the number I must spend in payroll in 8 weeks. So this gives me a good understanding of where I need to be. Now, 25% needs to go to the remaining balance, which is 15,000. So what I did is I got 62,000 and I got it times 25%, 15,625 can go to things like my rent, my utilities, my loan interest, or internet, phone, anything of that nature. Now, here's what I want you to know. If you're a sole proprietor and it's under your personal name, you might want to have that altered to be under your business name right now. You need to do it. If you're paying for your personal vehicle or personal loans or personal anything through your business, it does not qualify on any of this unless it is deemed a business requirement or necessity. So you got to be very careful here. So this 15K you can use towards any of these things, and the 46 remainder you have to use towards payroll only. This is payroll only expense. So then what I did to get this better understood, let me make sure I got it. I already covered the FTB. So what I did to do better understand this is I got the 2-month period that I got to pay it. So I divided it by 2 months. And I've come to, I've got to spend this amount of money in just a few weeks. I don't know how I did that. that doesn't make any sense. Did I do that right? Let me do that math one more time. For some reason, I don't think, maybe I got this number from here to here. This don't make any sense. So what I did is I'm getting this $46,000 and I'm going to divide it by 2. I don't know what I was doing there. 875, 46, 875, and I'm going to divide that by 2 months, and it's 23,000. Oh, I did have 23,000, didn't I? 23,000 for 3750. I did have it right. It just didn't sound right there. So okay, so this is the difference. Now, by the way, I did have it wrong. Okay, all right. So here's what I know. In each month, I have to spend 23,000. I should take off the 50. 23,437 in this example. So if you really look at it, the difference is only about $1,500 from what I usually would spend. So if I could just get everybody to continue to work, right, or everybody that I had working to stay on board, I should be fine. So the whole point of this loan program really is to keep people employed and to keep your payroll at the exact same place it was and your expenses taken care of. So I probably didn't go in. I have another video about PPP that you should watch. It talks more in depth about it. But if you're already in the process of looking for forgiveness, you should know this. Your whole loan forgiveness is based on 2 things. Can you spend the money on payroll? And can you keep the amount of employees the same, the full-time employees the same or greater? Now, what we're trying to do is figure out how much money do I have to spend every month. So 23, 25, you're actually about right. It's actually a pretty good number. So going back to full-time employees, and if you have questions, please put them in the chat. If you have questions, I didn't mean to do that. Sorry, there you go. If you have questions, please put them in the chat. To calculate full-time employees again, or to know when you have full-time employees, you had to look back at your year count last year, looking at last year, February through June. How many employees did you have? In this case, I had 17, so I have to have 17 again or greater. All right, so here's a rule that I think most people are overlooking, and this is a good one, okay? So if you want to make sure that you don't get any of this money not forgiven, if you want to have everything forgiven, don't think about just spending this money, this $46,000 on payroll itself. Every employee matters, and you cannot pay any employee. Let me make sure I underline this. Any employee cannot get more than $3,846. Now you're probably wondering what that means. The law states that you cannot, or the rules state rather, that you cannot have any employee who's making over $100,000 as a qualified employee for the PPP forgiveness. So if you're the owner or somebody in your business is making over $100,000, they don't qualify to be used as payroll during this period. So here's what you need to do is make sure if you're going to give anybody a raise or hire any more talent, you need to make sure you do not exceed $3,846 in a period, in a 2-week period for an employee. So either somebody's gonna have to take a pay cut, or you just don't try to overinflate your payroll, because things can happen. And by the way, at the end, I'm gonna go through some scenarios that'll give you exactly what it is that you need to be thinking about, because I think maybe you're thinking, how do I work the system? How do I make this right? I'm gonna tell you exactly what it is that you can do to maximize your ability to forgive, okay? So stay to the end. All right, so know what can be forgiven. Again, one thing I would tell you guys is to get organized. And so here's something I would encourage you to do. First and foremost, if you get these loan proceeds, keep them in a separate account. What do you mean by separate account, David? I'm talking about QuickBooks account. I'm talking about keeping them in an account that's different from your regular other money. So in QuickBooks, you can just allocate those funds. Pretty simple. If you're not a QuickBooks person, if you're not an accounting person, create a separate bank account. Deposit this money into that bank account and only leave that money there. And that money is to use to operate, to keep your operations going. So you don't take any money out of that account unless it's to fulfill the needs of this particular loan program, which is your rent, utilities, loan interest, internet, or payroll, but do not exceed this, okay? So get organized, put people there, okay? Follow specific lender guidelines. Now, what really matters to you is the lender, because the lender is really who's going to fight for your forgiveness. So if your lender says anything specific, if they say, I want you to have your own account, if they say, I need you to put the money here, just go with it. Do not, let me repeat this, do not allow yourself to get caught with bad payroll, bad expenses, because you were so sloppy and you didn't keep receipts and you didn't pay from that account. Be very organized at this time, especially when you're playing with a lot of money. Like for this example, I'm trying to get us $62,000 forgiven. That's what I'm trying to get. I believe that if I should work the system right, I should have it all forgiven. It's a lot of money, but even in any case, if it's 10,000, 15,000, 20,000, or even 5,000, you want to have it forgiven, okay? So start these payments from the very date you receive the money. This is part of the rules. So if I get my funding today, whatever payroll I pay today or any day further is part of the payroll process. So what does that really mean? If you had employees who were working last week and today is their pay date, like their pay period ended on Saturday and today's payday and you just received your funds, that counts towards your payroll. It starts the day that you receive and sign funding. So you got to know right from that day, you got to start planning, okay? Understanding what you can control as it relates to the PPP loan will help prepare your business for enhancing payroll forgiveness. Now here's some warnings that I want to give you. And this is part of me kind of giving you some insight, okay? When we look at this thing, this may look all kind of crazy, I guess you could say, but really what I want you to know is you don't want to just give away money. This is the challenge I think most of us are going to face through this PPP process, because you're going to say, well, I got to just get rid of this money, because if I get rid of the money, I can get it forgiven, right? That's the goal. You want to get it forgiven. Let me see here. And you are like, well, maybe if I just go through this and I just give it away, we should be fine. The challenge here is you don't want to just give away money. So how do you maximize your payroll? Well, first, you understand what you submitted your application with for 17. Then as you get that money, count your full-time employees. So if it's 15, you need to hire 2. Now, you don't want to just overpay people either. You know, I believe in capitalism and I believe people need to earn what they keep. And if you're just going to give people raises or you're just going to maximize your payroll by giving away money, don't do that. You see, I'd much rather you get 80, 70, 60% of the loan forgiven, and you get to at least keep the balance, because you don't have to, how do I put this? Let's say for an example, I'm going to do an example here so we can just get this easier for us to understand, right? Let's just say an example is 62,000 is what we borrowed. That's our PPP loan, right? PPP loan. Okay. If I can get, I don't know, 50,000 forgiven, right? That makes easy math. I'm going to have a $12,500 balance. You don't need to give that back until the term is ended. So what I would tell you to do is, if you're not going to get 100% forgiven based on the loan amount, that's okay. Do this, keep this money in your bank account. And when the loan term comes out, if you didn't need to use it, give it right back at 1%. Or You used it on something and just start making the payments. One or the other is going to happen, but don't just give away money is the challenge. You know, use it towards your liabilities that are relevant and can be used. Use it towards the payroll of the 17 employees, the 15 employees, whatever it is, but don't allow that extra cash just to go to 10 employees because you want to get rid of it to get forgiveness. The forgiveness is okay, but I mean, if you need the money in your bank account to continue to operate, don't worry about the forgiveness. It's a 1% loan. Bet on you, you know? That's why I warn people that, hey, don't just think about forgiveness. I understand that you want it forgiven. I understand the maximization, right? But what's the worst that can happen? You have a 1% loan. The challenge is if you don't use any of this towards your PPP, now you have a bigger problem because none of it is forgivable and you only have 18 months to pay it back, or 24, but 6 of it's interest free or payment free. So I don't want you to be put in this predicament here. Actually, I didn't even really pay attention here, but here's what I would tell you. Even if it's, you know, it's a very low interest rate. Let me just get full screen here. It's a very, very low interest rate. I didn't realize how big it wasn't. So I don't want you guys to think about this as a loss if you don't get it all forgiven, okay? Don't think about that. This is so important. Now, there are some caveats to this loan program that are still being, or nuances, if you will, that are being worked out. I know that, so maybe it isn't all clear. We're only playing by the rules that we have right now. So we have to, after 8-week period from the day we receive it, we have to spend this. In this case, I had a $300,000 2019 payroll. Let's call it my 2019 annual payroll, because that's what this was. It was $300,000. What I did just to calculate the loan, I divided it by 12 months, as I said, monthly payroll, $25,000. Then I got it times 2.25, that I made 0.25, so 25,000 times 0.25, 62,000 is my loan amount. I have to use 75% in order to get forgiveness on payroll. So I have to get 46,000 out the door. Now my job is to try, but I'm not going to try if that means paying people more than I have to. Now you can think about this getting creative, and I know people are going to get creative, so let's talk about that. Let me go here and see if there's any chat questions. People are going to get creative. I know that for a fact, right? So here's the creativity that people are going to get, right? I only have 15 employees and I need 17. Well, let me hire my niece, let me hire my son, my brother, my dog, whatever you can hire to get on payroll. If I'm not going to condone any of that, I'm not going to tell you that it's the right thing to do. But if somebody needs a job, give them a job. And if it fulfills your end of the bargain, go for it. But don't give money away is what I'm trying to get at. Don't just hire somebody to give away money. It is not right for them and it ain't right for you. So you got to be careful with how you structure this thing. So what I would do, for an example here, since I got this 46,000 is what I need to do in 2 months, I got to do it. So it's got to get 23,000 a month. If I want to do this, then I would divide this by 4, and then this would give me a number, which is somewhere around 6,000 a month, a week is what I need to make in payroll. So I've got to give 6,000 a week is what I'm trying to get at. And so every week you should be checking your targets. You literally should create an 8 space, if you will, week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5, week 6, week 7, week 8. And every week you've got to have, here's what I did. I got to put a budget of $6,000, right? And above it, I need to put how much I actually made. So if I did 7,000, I'm +1, right? And that's great. So what I'm trying to tell you is, and I have a calculator built for this. If you'd like a copy of the calculator, I'll give you some instructions in just a minute. But you really just want to have each week and determine if you actually made or didn't make your payroll requirements. Now, that 15,000 over here, you definitely need to use it. Now, can you use more of this? Instead of using 75, can you use 90 for payroll and 10 for expenses? You surely can. But you can't go down and you can't go less than 75 for payroll. Just to be clear, okay? You can't go less than 75 for payroll. And if you want a copy of that thing, just let me know. Let me go here one more time. So even if it isn't forgiven, it's a low interest rate. I don't want you to think that this is something that's going to kill you, but the length of the term is very important to understand, 18 months. All right, so use all the funds you receive when you receive for payroll if you can. It's always my recommendation. So I'm going to send out copies of this thing and also a copy of our daily huddle on this particular thing. If you'd like it, we could send it to you. I know I went really fast, so I'm going to ask, do you guys have any questions that I can answer while I'm here? And you can request it by going to that page. Let me go down here and let me make sure I don't have any questions. Perfect. Let me see, all panelists. There you go. Q&A, here we go. Do you calculate taxes with payroll? Yes, so the answer is you're gonna get gross payroll. It's called gross. So when you run a payroll, you're gonna see a line that says gross. That is the number that goes towards these numbers. Gross payroll. Gross payroll. Because on top of gross payroll, you have your own payroll taxes that you pay on behalf of the employer. I mean, on behalf of the employee, but from the employer, if you're the employer. That is not calculated, but you don't have to look at that because your payroll provider will break it into what they call gross payroll. And so you're going to use gross payroll to calculate your numbers. So you use gross to calculate this, and then that creates all this. Now, when you're doing your repayment, you're going to use your gross payroll as your indicator on each week to determine if you hit it. And I think you will, by the way. And again, one thing this I think is gonna, I think this is what this is how I would see this opportunity. Let me take this down so I can. Let me see if there's another question. Make sure I get them. This is how I would see this opportunity. For an example, if I know I have a budget now that I need to use to hire people, well then my job as the owner, the manager, whoever's in charge, my job now is to go find the business to fulfill that employee. So this may be a good challenge for you as the owner, as the manager, whatever your role is and you're watching this. Your job is to go out and find more business. Your job is, if you need to fulfill this payroll obligation, if you've laid off 10 people and you need to get them back, well, you got to go find business. Now, you're probably thinking, well, David, you don't know my situation. There's a lot going on in the world. You've got to get creative and you got to move fast. I don't know what the answer is, but if you'd like help and you'd like suggestions, comments, if you'd like to have some dialogue, I'd be willing to sit down with anybody and discuss, give you a few minutes and really understand how your business works and how you can proceed. I do that for businesses every day. I'd love to do it for you if I can. But think about what you need to be doing in the marketplace to get more people employed. All right. Let me see. Any other questions? There you go. Got your question answered. Thank you very much. All right. So if you're looking for an opportunity, we have our upcoming course next weekend to get your insurance license. If you're thinking about getting an insurance license, I know this is not related to this, but I wanted you to know that, Freedom sponsors everything that I do. So I got to promote them. We're having a licensing course. It's part-time, full-time, work from home type of money. And it's very lucrative. We have agents who make 40, 50, 60, 150. I have one agent that made $280,000 last year selling insurance with us. I know I can help you just like I helped them. If you're interested, reach out to me at david@david8pettis.com. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Oh, Twitter's not up there. Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. And this is my contact information directly if you need anything from me. I am here to serve you. I want to say thank you if you're watching. If you have any last questions, I'll stick around for a minute. You guys are phenomenal, but I hope you understood all of this. I know it was kind of all over the place in some respects, but my job here is to get you educated, if you will. So we will talk about any of these things, and we'll have more one-on-one conversations. If you need something from me, email me any of your specific questions, david@davidapettis.com, and I'll answer them directly. All right, thanks, guys. Y'all have a great day. Bye-bye.